Hi! Welcome to Virtual CB1A. This is Miss Rena and this is Week 2, Lecture 1 of Mathematics, Science and Technology. Today we will discuss operations on fractions. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to learn how to perform operations on fractions. Let's have a quick review. The operation division can be expressed as a fraction where a divided by b can be represented by a over b, where a is the numerator or the number to be divided and b is the denominator or the divisor. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to find out if two fractions are equivalent. Next, we are going to apply rule of signs. Next, generating equivalent fractions. And for the next operation, addition or subtraction, we have two cases. One is for similar fraction and the other is for dissimilar fractions. We will also study how to multiply fractions and finally how to perform division. So I suggest that you get a piece of paper and a pen or pencil. Any writing material that is within reach will be fine, because I will be giving you some activities during this video presentation. And I will appreciate if you are going to write down your answers on the comment box. So if you are ready, let's start. Okay, let's start with equivalent fractions. According to equivalent fractions, if you have two fractions a over b and c over d, they are equivalent if and only if the product of AD, or the numerator of the first and the denominator of the second, is equal to the product of BC, or the denominator of the first and the numerator of the second. So let's have here some examples. Okay. So for number 1, let's check if 2/3 is really equal to 4 over 6. And for number 2, let's check if 2 over 5 is equal to 10 over 12. And finally, for number 3, this is going to be left as an exercise for you. So please write down on the comment section your answer for number 3. And this is 4 over 3 is equal to 12 over 9. Alright, let's start with number 1. So for number 1, to check whether these two fractions are equivalent, let's multiply the numerator of the first, which is 2, by the denominator of the second, which is 6. And then equate it with the denominator of the first, which is 3, times the numerator of the second, which is 4. Now let's find the product. 2 times 6, it is 12, correct. And then 3 times 4, it is also 12. So since 12 is equal to 12, then these two fractions are equivalent. Okay? Now let's go to item number 2. For item number 2, let's follow the same procedure. Multiply the numerator of the first by the denominator of the second, and then the denominator of the first by the numerator of the second. So we have 2 times 12 is equal to 5 times 10. 2 times 12 is only 24, while 5 times 10 is equal to 50. So since they are not equal, this is not an example of an equivalent fraction. Okay? All right. So I hope that was clear because now we are going to move forward with the second rule, which is the rule of signs. For the rule of signs, sobrang dali lang nito. If you see a negative sign on either the numerator or denominator, then the whole fraction is negative. For example, you have negative... Oh my god. How can I make this invisible? Ayan. Ayun, kaya na. Okay, so for number 2, like I've said earlier, for the rule of signs, sobrang dali lang nito. If you see one negative sign on either the numerator or denominator, then the whole fraction is negative. For example, we have negative 2 over 3. It is also equal to positive 2 divided by negative 3, or positive 2 over negative 3, which is also equal to negative 2 over 3. So all of these are equivalent. If you see two negative sign sa numerator at saka sa denominator, then dun lang siya magkakaroon ng ibang sagot. For example, 2 over negative 3. According to the rule of division, if you have negative divisor at saka negative din yung number to be divided, both of the numbers are negative, then you will end up with a positive value. So, yung rule of signs, it will only apply for fractions who only have one negative number, either on the numerator or on the denominator. Okay? Alright, let's go to the next one. We have, yun na naman siya, hindi na naman siya ma-edit. Okay. So for this one, generate equivalent fractions. Ito yung paglalagay natin ng fractions into lowest terms. For example, we have 8 over 6. So, si 8 over 6, it can still be simplified. How? Look for a common factor on the numerator and denominator. So, 8, what are the factors of 8? So, we have 2 times 4. And then C6, the factors are 2 and 3. If you see common factors between the numerator and denominator, then perform division, you are going to end up with 4 over 3. It is given that C is not equal to 0. So you shouldn't have any 0 denominators because division by 0 is not allowed. Let's have another example. For example, ano bang maganda? Ano to? 35 over 75. Ayan. So if we are going to perform Okay, let's have another one. For example, you have 20 over 45. So let's simplify. For 20 and 45, both of them has the factor 5. So we have 5 times 4, and this one is 5 times 9. So let's perform division. You are going to end up with 4 over 9. And 4 over 9 is at its simplest form. We don't have any value that can be factored out of 4 and 9 to generate another equivalent fraction. So ito na yon. Another one, let's have 16 over 20. For 16 over 20, both of them are divisible by 2. We have 2 times 8 at saka 2 times 9. And also, if you end up with 8 over 10, hindi pa siya at its simplest form because there are still other values inside of 8 and 10 that can be factored out to generate equivalent fractions. We have 2 times 4 and then 2 times 5. We are going to end up with 4 over 5. Okay? So, as long as you can factor out something from the numerator and denominator to generate equivalent fractions, tuloy-tuloy lang. Another method nga pala, you can also perform prime factorization. For example, for 16, let us factorize 16 using all primes. So we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Because 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again is 8, times 2 ulit is 16. So, for 20 naman, we're going to have 2 times 2 times 5. So when we prime factorize, we get all the factors of a certain number using all prime numbers. We have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 and 2 times 2 times 5. So divide them. You will end up with just 2 times 2 over 5 because all of these will equate 1. 2 times 2 over 2 times 2 is 1. So dito, we have 4 over 5. Same answer. So if you want to shorten the time of generating equivalent fractions, I suggest that you practice how to perform prime factorization. Madali lang naman yon. Just look for the factors of a certain number using all primes. Okay? Siguro gagawa na lang ako ng another discussion for that since hindi naman talaga siya part ng lesson natin. Let's now go to the first case of addition or subtraction. This is for similar fractions. For similar fractions, palit tayo ng kulay. For example, you have 1 over 4 plus 5 over 4. When we say similar fractions, these are fractions having the same denominator. All you have to do is to add or subtract the numerators and then copy the denominator. Since they have the same denominator 4, copy lang natin siya dyan sa baba. Then perform addition, since the operation here is addition, on the numerator. So we have 1 plus 5. We are going to end up with 6 over 4. Dito na mag-a-apply yung ibang mga rules that we have discussed earlier. For example, yung si generating equivalent fractions. For here, since 6 and 4 still has a common factor inside them, you are going to reduce it to its simplest form or lowest terms. We have 2 divided by 2 is 1, so you will be left with 3 and 4. Also, if you have a subtraction operation between the two fractions, parehas na procedure pa rin yung gagawin. Just copy the denominator and then perform subtraction on the numerator. 1 minus 5 is negative 4, and then negative 4 over 4. So we have here negative 1 as our final answer. Okay? One more example. This is going to be your exercise number 2. Hindi pala siya example. This is exercise number 2. Please add the following. So we have 2 over 3 plus 7 over 3. And then write down your answer on the comment section. Okay? And now, let's go to the next case. Still, this is for addition. Let's just... Di siya automatic eh. You have to select it. Then, you have to see. Okay. Gawin natin purple. For addition or subtraction of dissimilar fraction, madali lang din to. Just like what we did earlier, we have taken the product of the first fraction and the second fraction. Specifically, the numerator of the first fraction should be multiplied by the denominator of the second fraction, and the denominator of the first fraction should be multiplied by the numerator of the second fraction. So we have AD plus or minus BC over the product of the two denominators, BD. Ganun lang pagka dissimilar yung fractions. You have to perform cross multiplication on the numerator, and then for the denominator, just multiply the two numbers, BD. For example, 2/3 plus 1/4. Let's start with the denominator kasi mas madali yun. Get the product of the denominator. We have 3 over 4. And then for the numerator, all you have to do is to perform multiplication with the numerator of the first and the denominator of the second. And then whatever operation you have on in the middle, for example, dito sa specific problem natin, we have the problem of addition. So, lagay mo lang dyan sa operation addition. And then proceed with multiplication of the numerator of the second and the denominator of the first. So, 3 times 1. And then simplify. We have 2 times 4, 8 plus 3 over 12. You are going to end up with 11 over 12. So look for common factors between the numerator and denominator. If there are any common factors, then reduce it to lowest terms. In this case, we have 11 over 12. Wala naman siyang common factor aside from 1. So this is already in its simplest form or lowest terms. Another one, if you have 2 over 3 multiplied by 6 over 5. Ayan. So, multiplied. Ano pala? Minus. Ayan. 2 over 3 minus 6 over 5. For the denominator, we have 3 times 5, the product of the two denominators. And then, lagyan na natin dito yung operation ng subtraction para hindi kayo nalilito. Ayan. And then, for the values to be subtracted, we have 2 times 5 at saka 3 times 6. So, 2 times 5 is 10, while 3 times 6 is 18, divided by 15. So, we have 10 minus 18 is negative 8. So, negative 8 over 15. Okay? I hope that was clear. Let's now proceed to Rule number 6. Ayan. 5 pala. Kasi dalawa nga yung case natin ng addition kanina. For multiplication of fractions, napakadali nito. Just multiply the numerators and the denominators. Yun na yun. Yun na kaagad yung product ng buong problem natin. For example, 2 over 3 times, gamitin natin yung kanina ulit. We have 6 over 5. 2 times 6 is 12, while 3 times 5 is 15. If there are any common factors in the numerator and denominator, factor them out and then simplify. For 12, we have 3 times 4, while for 15, we have 3 times 5. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. You will be left with 4 over 5. So that's it. Ang dali, diba? Ang dali na multiplication. Let's have 5 over 3 times 15 over 10. Yan. Also, if you encounter fractions such as this, if you want to solve it faster without dealing with large numbers, kasi di ba 5 times 15, pagka medyo umakyat na ng 10 yung imumultiply natin, nalulula na tayo, di ba? Pwede naman na generate equivalent fractions muna before you perform multiplication. For example, 15 over 10, there are common factors between 15 and 10, which is 5. So, pwede mo siyang isulat as 3 over 2. It will be simpler when you perform multiplication. You have 5 times 3 na lang over 3 times 2. And also, you have common factors pa in the numerator and denominator, which is 3, diba? So, pwedeng tanggalin mo na siya kaagad immediately because 3 divided by 3 is 1. You will be left with 5 over 2. Pwede rin naman na ang procedure nyo is 5 times 15 over 3 times 10. And then multiply 5 times 15. Wala namang problema dun. You will end up with 75. And then this is 30. And then after that, generate equivalent fractions. You have here, ano yung same dito sa dalawa? Babalik ka rin naman. Kasi, dito, you will end up with 5 times 15. Only that, here, it is 5 times 6. So, you will end up with 15 over 6. And then, you know that there are common factors pa between 15 and 6. We have 5 multiplied by 3 and we have 2 multiplied by 3. Ayan. You will end up with 5 over 2 pa rin. So, it's up to you as long as you multiply the numerators and the denominators for multiplication of fraction and then you make sure that you are generating equivalent fractions bago nyo ipasa yung final answer nyo, then it is acceptable. Ayan na, last na tayo. So, we have division of fractions. This is also very simple. Medyo nakakalula lang siya tingnan pag sinulat mo siya na ganito. Di pa selected si layer. So, we have A over B divided by C over D. Kasi ganyan yan sa fraction which is equal to A over B divided by C over D. Ang gagawin mo lang daw, you multiply the first fraction, yung number to be divided natin, by the reciprocal of the divisor. So, babaliktarin mo lang yung divisor mo, yung CD. Instead of CD, you are going to have D over C. And then proceed with multiplication. You have AD over BC. Ganyan lang yung kadali. Lagay tayo ng 2 over 3 divided by 7 over 6. Yan, para maganda. Here, just change the operation to multiplication and then get the reciprocal of your divisor. You are going to have 6 over 7. 2 times 6 over 3 times 7. Sabi ko nga kanina, mas madali kung magpa-prime factorize na tayo kaagad para hindi na tayo masyadong hirap pag-generate ng equivalent fraction. So, 2 times, si 6, ang factors niya are 2 times 3. And then for here, we have 3 times 7. Both of them are primes. So, here, we have common factors, 3 at saka 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. So, you will end up with 2 times 2, which is 4. And then, finally, for the denominator, you have 7. Isa pa. Last na to 1 over 4 divided by 8 over 5. So we have 1 over 4 multiplied by 5 over 8. We have here 5, 1 times 5 over 4 times 8. Or 5 over 32. Okay? Lagay tayo ng isa pang exercise. This is now exercise number 3. Please get the quotient of 2 over 5 divided by 15 over 8. And then write down your answer on the comment box. Okay? So that will be the end of our discussion for lecture number 1 of week 2. And I will upload another video for week 2, lecture number 2. Okay? So bye and see you next time.